Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video. Timmy and CJ are in the house and we're doing something special with the X3 that we teased on the last video, and that is the carbon fiber dash from Jeffrey's Performance. So this is going to be a 4-piece setup. It's got 3 sections up top and then the main dash that sits, you know, on the car. So it's gonna be very labor intensive. It's gonna be a lot of work going on here. This is definitely not a job for beginners. This is something that you guys out there who would want to do, either you gotta be very mechanically inclined, got a lot of experience and, you know, messing with tools, or I suggest you take it to a shop like Jeffrey's Performance to get this done. We have no experience and we're gonna take our chances. CJ and Timmy trust me to not destroy this dash, but stuff might go wrong. Let's be honest, guys. Don't be hiding, homie.
I'm worried.
You worried? I'm a little worried. All right, so first things first, we had a little time lapse going where we kind of pulled off the dash. We're not gonna get into detail on pulling off the dash. If you can't figure out how to take off the screws for the dash, then the rest of this video is gonna be probably out of your league, honestly. I'm not trying to, you know, be negative about it, but the point is, take out the dash, multiple screws, and pretty much setting everything up as far as wiring so it's ready for the new dash. So we left all our plugs here in the center because we have a center dash piece. We left our cluster you know, connector here. Also, we're gonna have the light switch still in a very similar factory location. This front bracket here that houses the fuse block and a couple other connectors, we actually had to screw that to the frame. Nothing crazy. It's just the original dash piece that goes there houses this, and since we removed it, we needed some way of securing it. So now it's secured nicely with some you know, just self tappers into the tubing of the cage. Furthermore, we did remove the DLC port. Where is it at? It's down here now. It used to connect to the top. Since we want to have easy access to that, we did route it down here so we could do some flashing in the future, because the boys do want to go E85 because they can't handle the fact that I'm smoking them right now.
Somebody's whooping us now.
No, but in all seriousness, this is going to make it easier to access your plug. Now, this dash does cover up some other things, which is kind of inconvenient, like the fuse block. But from the looks of it, we already kind of pre-mocked up this dash, and we could reach our hands on the side if we need to get in there. I could probably fit my hands. That guy probably can't.
You got Mickey Mouse hands.
You got Mickey Mouse hands, fool. Ha ha!
Shut up!
Also, the brake fluid. Yes, it's going to be also very difficult for the brake fluid. But we are going to set this dash up so you could remove it and install it in the future if you needed to. And that's just life. This is very custom. There is no access ports to these, you know, vital things, the brake fluid for one. But this is very custom. It's going to look so badass, and let's get started. So dash is out, but we have something that's kind of unique to this vehicle and mainly to this cage, is the fact that the dash would not fit underneath the cage. At least we couldn't slip it on. It does fit, but we couldn't slip it on without having to unbolt the cage. So this may be an extra step that you guys may have depending on your cage. So we looked at my cage. It looks like there's more room on mine. On this one there isn't much room, so we did have to remove the bolts for the cage, lift it up, and then we got to push this plastic kind of down to kind of get room in order to slide in the dash. So first things first, we're gonna sit this dash in the vehicle and figure out where we're gonna mount all these screw locations to keep it secured. All right, so like we said, it was a tight fit. It is kind of like the design of the dash, but mainly it's the problem with the cage. So the boys are gonna have to shove it in there carefully. There you go. And as you can see, for one, it looks fucking badass, dude. What do you think? It looks freaking sick. I think CJ was originally trying to do a cowl, but after we saw the dash installed, I don't think you want to cover up that carbon fiber. So now that we got the dash panel in, we're going to lower the cage back down so we can correctly mount our bolt locations and make sure we get this figured out and keep it secured. So now with the dash pretty much in place, we're gonna figure out the mounting of the dash. So we do have the original pieces that are pretty much the kick panels of the Can-Am X3. As you can see, they do somewhat line up. We don't want to just blindly drill holes. We're gonna probably just sit the fender on there and see if the stuff lines up still, because although these can actually move up and down, actually these don't move. I think we might be fine if we just drill the holes, because look at it, they don't move. So if we literally sit the dash on there, we should be able to drill the hole and it should line up. So all right, the dash is sitting in place. A couple notes. Again, it does rub a little bit. That's pretty much the cage. There's nothing we could do about it. It has nothing to do with the dash itself. The dash, it's a pretty good piece. It's really nice. I think they did a good job forming it. Fiberworks is known for making these dashes, and for the most part, it's pretty good shape. And the way it's cut on the edges, which I was first worried about, actually came out really good. So for you guys that don't know, this dash is actually made or designed by Jeffrey's Performance, but made by Fiberworks. You can pretty much only get this dash from Jeffrey's Performance. This is their dash. So if you guys are familiar with the Gotti car from Jeffrey's Performance, this is the dash. It rocks and it looks freaking sick, that's for sure. This is gonna be a little bit different because we're gonna have the 2 extra hood pieces on the left and on the right for more accessories that these guys are gonna be running. And then one thing I did want to know is we had to remove the glove box. The glove box came out to about here, and we had to remove it. There was no way we were gonna be able to keep it, so we did a rough cut. We are probably gonna actually remove this panel and cut it flush with over here and leave the tank, you know, visible. I mean, it's the same thing. You're gonna see black plastic, and that's the gas tank, so no big deal there. We just gotta finish up the edges over here because it does look a little raw. So we're gonna move on to probably mounting the fender, just to make sure everything lines up where we want it, and then we'll drill the hole on the carbon fiber portion of the dash on this side, and we'll probably mount 1 screw, and then we'll secure the top of the dash to make sure that's in the proper spot that we want it. You know, the lines aren't going to be exactly perfect. You know, this is a carbon fiber piece, not a plastic piece, but the lines are actually really good, as you guys can see here. And as long as we keep this flush and the top flush, I think it's going to look really good, something like that. Hold on. What about the other side? You feel it?
Yeah, I already see it.
Alright, you see it. Alright, no pasa nada. $1,000. Damn, missed it completely, homie. Nah, that's good. Put the fender on, then what we could do is, you know, line it up and see if this actually goes through the U-nut on the fender. Alright, so we line them up, we put a pick through, and it does line up with the nut, the built-in U-nut that's on the fender. So now that that's there, we drilled out the hole a little bit bigger to fit the factory hardware. This hardware we're gonna use temporarily. I think we're gonna get some nicer bling bling hardware with some nice rings on it. So they're gonna be like countersunk screws for the head, and the head has that ring that goes around. All right, looks like that mounted up perfectly. The line here is pretty much flush. We do notice at the very top here, the gap kind of goes low. What we could do is heat this panel up and kind of raise it up to match up the line of the carbon fiber dash. So, but we won't do that until we bolt down the back side of the dash, or the front side actually. And when we do the front side dash, bolting that down, at the same time, we got to be mindful of the way that the centerpiece sits to it, because this ties into not only the dash up here, but at the bottom at the factory mounted location. So when you're screwing down a dash like this, be very mindful. You know, dash can be a little bit brittle. It is a strong material, but you know, it can crack. So tying these all up by hand, don't use an impact wrench. We'll do the other side, and then we'll move on to the front side of the dash. We mounted our screws on our ends. The one on this side that normally goes here is gonna be very easy, because on the opposite side of the fender there's a hole. We can line those up, drill the hole this way, and install that. We also have one that should be here. We're up in the air whether we're gonna put that or not. We're gonna leave that to the very end. What we're gonna focus on next is securing the front of the dash to the panels. And we're thinking, because there's a hole right underneath this one, we could put a screw right here on each side, and possibly one in the middle. I'll probably put a rib nut depending on what's underneath this, because we already forgot. So we got to make sure something's underneath here that's gonna be very secure. We'll put one there, that'll hold it down and push it down, and the dash will not go anywhere. So I want to let you guys know, when you're dealing with carbon fiber and cutting, you should be wearing a mask at all times, and glasses, especially, you know, when using the Dremel, because it kicks up a lot of dust. Drilling, not so much, but still you want to vacuum all that stuff off. It will irritate your skin, and you don't want to inhale it because it is cancerous. So just keep that in mind when you're doing this kind of stuff. We should be wearing long sleeves, but it's freaking like almost 90-something degrees today. So some of the main tools that we use for cutting is a multi-tool with a wood style blade, works great, and a Dremel with just a regular sanding wheel that we're going to use. You can also use like cutoff discs, but what I don't like about cutoff discs is if it breaks off, it's flying and it's probably going to damage the piece you're working on.
Milwaukee to sponsor this dude.
Milwaukee?
Milwaukee, 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 Milwaukee. Everything's Milwaukee. Even your Tonys are Milwaukee.
Nice. Nice.
Back to the dash. In order to accomplish bolting this down, we're gonna have to remove it again and get a good idea if we have any meat underneath this dash and where we could drill it. So right here, we're pretty set that we could just drill a hole here and we'll be fine. Over here, we're not too sure. So we're gonna go ahead and pull the dash again and get that squared away. All right guys, so we pretty much settled. We loosened up the dash, and there is a piece of plastic here that we could screw into. We're gonna do it from the very top, right in the center. We'll do one here, and the ones on the ends are going to be really simple because there's already predetermined holes, and we can actually see the holes when the dash is installed, and we could drill them. So it'll be like right on the top here. So the dash will have 3 and then 2 on each side, and that should be more than enough to secure this dash.
We're using dry erase markers on this carbon fiber. We mess up on our marks, you could just wipe it off and put another one.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So dry erase expo markers were great for whiteboard.
Once this sits on, when we bolted the thing, we'll just measure from here, whatever it is, like 2 inches or 1.5 inches to where the center point is. Boom.
Is that a fact?
This is the center point. This is where it gets
using
peaked on.
fucking math skills. I don't even know.
I think you failed math, homie.
I don't even think he passed kindergarten in math. He's over here, man.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and figure out this hole. In these situations, measure 3 times, cut once, especially with carbon fiber. Imagine have like all these weird holes everywhere.
Cut once and you're screwed around.
They're speed holes, no?
Yeah, speed holes, fool. Because we're kind of going blind and we're just doing measurements to the outside, drill the hole a little bit slotted left to right. We're gonna be using another wing nut, and that'll help. These are the existing wing nuts, by the way, that we took off the original dash. That will help to center it. Alright, what'd you say?
Doubting my math.
I'm not doubting your skills, homie. I drilled that hole, fool. Alright, so hey man, by the grace of God, somehow we got it in. We drilled the hole. I put the drill bit through, and I made sure, and it went right through the U-nut just like we wanted. So now that's ready to bolt down. And honestly, because since we got this and that's good to go, we're gonna go ahead and drill the holes for here. Should be really simple. We can actually see exactly where it's at, and we can actually probably drill the hole from the bottom. Put that nut on. Yep, and that'll be there. That'll be there. We're gonna go ahead and tighten up the bolts for the cage, because this dash ain't going nowhere. It's staying in the car. Bam! Carbon fiber. Timmy, what do you think?
That's it.
Check out the finish on the dash. The lines meet up perfectly on both sides. Now we're gonna go ahead and start working on the center part, but before that, we ran into a little problem. When you move the dash, or excuse me, the steering column up and down, it comes in contact with the dash. So the cutout that comes, you know, from them is not enough. So we're gonna have to cut it a little bit more. Using tape as a guide works really good. And now this clears just fine. It doesn't leave the most perfect edge. Like here you can see very little of maybe a tiny bit of flaking. Same as over here. We might hit that with the sanding wheel, we might leave it. It's not something that's visible that much. Plus we're gonna have a dash that goes here, so I think we're probably just gonna leave it. All right guys, we're figuring out what's probably gonna be the hardest one, and that's the center console. So right now currently it's butted up against where it would normally be here on the center console, you know, continued here. All right, so we got the dash butted up against the center portion here, which is perfect. That's where we want it. But the very top is what we're concerned with. So our main goal was to install the main piece, make sure everything is aligned where we want it, in the sides where the fenders meet up, and in the front where the cowl is. And now we have this situation here where there's a big giant gap. Now we could probably put a screw at the very top here and maybe force it, and it probably wouldn't be that bad. But I think the biggest problem is making contact right here and not letting it sit down. I think the angle of this, you know, I think Fiberworks did a decent job, you know, correcting the angle from this piece to the dash. I think it's gonna work. But the problem here is the cut. And I don't think that's Fiberworks' fault. I think that's just gonna vary car to car. All the cars aren't perfect. In this situation, we're gonna trim just a little bit. So I got this tool. You guys have all seen it on Instagram or on a freaking some sort of post. And it's a type of tool that'll help you, you know, get the correct angle for cutting tile or for cutting wood, making trim pieces for interior. So I think it's gonna work perfect in this situation. We kind of mocked up exactly where we want it here. Then we could just draw this on the, you know, the hood piece here and make a cut. We are gonna be conservative on the cut. We're not gonna cut too much. We're gonna do little by little until we get it where we want it. So we're gonna do it to both sides, and hopefully it turns out good. Hey man, no refunds, homie. If I fuck it up, it's over. We're gonna hold it pretty much where it should go. He's gonna mark the line all the way around. And when we make our first cut, we're actually not gonna go all the way. We're gonna kind of wanna be conservative and go little by little. We don't wanna damage this piece. Look how much closer that is now. And now when we bolt it down, it's gonna have way less of a gap. Look, man, it's never gonna be perfect. I mean, you probably could get it perfect. Super take your time, draw things out. Maybe a different method. If you guys want to comment down below on what you would do, great. But pretty much that's close enough the way we want it. What do you think?
I think it looks great. How look how it's gonna be. Is it all gonna fit? Is it a gap? You know?
So for the bottom, it's already kind of pre-drilled on one side. The other side, for whatever reason, you kind of faintly see the hole. We'll have them drill the hole. Once that's bolted down, we'll focus at the very top and put one big one right there.
You guys think they're like on a jungle gym or something?
I'm on a jungle gym. Right there, straight down?
Yeah.
Where do you want it? Right here? You good?
Yeah.
Alright, so I actually drilled out a 3/8 hole in the center console here because we're going to use a rib nut. We could just use nuts at the bottom, but it's very difficult to get our hands in there, even for me. On the sides, it might not be a problem. We'll probably just use nuts on the sides, but here in the center, we're going to use a rib nut. I don't know, I've never tried this on carbon fiber or fiberglass, and hopefully we won't have issues as far as cracking. If we do, we'll just put a nut in a washer and we'll just have to, you know, get in there somehow with our hands. So for you guys that don't know what a rib nut is, it's pretty much this funky looking nut. It's threaded, and when you put it in the hole and you pull the lever, it'll squeeze the backside and it will tighten up and it will stay there. I mean, I'm sure you guys have seen some of the rib nuts that are used on the Can-Ams already integrated into the frame. It makes things a lot easier. You don't have to hold it. It's pretty much holds itself. So we're gonna see what happens here. Hopefully this is not a fail. I'm gonna unthread it, and it's not spinning, so I'm hoping that's because it's nice and tight, and it looks like the threads got pulled all the way, so I think we're good to go. Now we can use the bolt from the top, put the hood on, and it should tighten right up, and we shouldn't have any issues. All right, guys, it's all bolted down, super solid, and just like when you load up your UTV on your trailer and you put your ratchet straps on, what do you always say? It ain't going nowhere. It's not gonna go nowhere. All right, we're sitting in the machine. We're trying to figure out exactly what we're gonna do. Like I was saying, we're just gonna make this a day 2 on another video. So if you guys want to see more on how we mounted all the accessories on this custom Jeffrey's Performance carbon fiber dash, join us, subscribe to the channel, like this video if you liked it, comment down below on what your thoughts are on such a piece like this. It is very extensive as far as the work goes, but I think it's well worth it. It looks freaking sick. So if you want to see part 2 to this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We'll see you guys in the next video, hopefully part 2. And yeah, stay dirty.